Are you wanting high-speed internet but don't have access to PUD fiber? Try Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet from LocalTel. Call 888-8888 today. It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Grant Olson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top stories, let's take a quick look outside our weather window. And yeah, some haze and some smoke are now back into the picture. We did see some regional fire smoke move into our area early this morning. We are seeing some of that haze out there today as we take a look at the Columbia River and associated bridges. We will see some nice mild temperatures today, but we'll talk a little bit later on about how long that smoke will last and how hot we will get. But let's take a look back now at our August weather. And as you can imagine, it was dry and yeah, it was hot. In fact, one of the hottest August on record, the sixth warmest. We averaged 76, almost 77 degrees for the month of August. Our hottest temperature, 99 back on August 11th, and boy, was it dry too. Total for the month, precipitation, 6/100ths of an inch. And as I mentioned, we'll talk more about hazy and hot weather moving in a little bit later on. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. A do not disturb sign cancels yesterday's court proceedings in the Bernard Swaim trial. An overview of the fires burning around the Northwest, and the mayors of East Wenatchee and Wenatchee talk about their trip to Misawa, Japan. Later on, we'll have sports, your weather forecast, and our feature story today. But first, Chelan County Sheriff Brian Burnett reports the two climbers were rescued earlier today on Dragon Tail Peak, about 11 miles southwest of Leavenworth. The two Seattle area climbers apparently got off route and reached a spot where they couldn't climb any higher and were unable to descend safely down the mountain. Both climbers activated their emergency beacons and were rescued around 8:30 this morning. The men were not injured. A fast-moving brush fire that broke out Thursday afternoon along Highway 97A north of Wenatchee near Stamen Flats is now 80% contained. The blaze was first reported burning along the roadway at about 2:53 yesterday afternoon. Officials say it quickly moved upslope from the highway, fueled by erratic winds and tinder-dry vegetation. Traffic was detoured off 97A to Highway 971 Navarre Coulee Road. Crews from Chelan County Fire District 7, Chelan Fire and Rescue, and Chelan County Fire District 8 from ENEAT responded along with aerial support from Washington State Department of Natural Resources. They used 2 scooper planes and a helicopter. The fire burned about 20 acres of grass and shrubs, and the cause of that fire is under investigation. So far this season, more than 2,600 wildfires have been reported in Oregon and Washington, according to the latest numbers from the Northwest Interagency Coordination Center. Of those reported wildfires, about 1,600 were human-caused, while the others attributed to lightning strikes. Other Oregon-Washington stats from the new report issued yesterday report that the largest Oregon fire, the Chetco Bar Fire, is 125,271 acres. The largest Washington fire is the Diamond Creek Fire, now at 58,794 acres. Peak number of people working the fires, 9,200. This video, captured earlier this month, is from above the Diamond Creek Fire in the Pasayten Wilderness, just a few miles south of the Canadian border. That human-caused fire, as we mentioned, is now nearly 59,000 acres in size, with 60% of the perimeter contained. Forest lands managed by the state of Washington should become less vulnerable to large wildfires under legislation authored by 12th District State Senator Brad Hawkins. Hawkins tells NCW Life News the bill was inspired by the widely acclaimed documentary, The Era of Mega Wildfires.
I sponsored a bill that would set a goal in statute of trying to treat through either prescribed burning or selective thinning over 1 million acres over the next 16 years. So we take a real systematic approach. The state budgets every biennium. So along with that goal that we put in place in statute, we set up a process through that legislation where the Department of Natural Resources would come and make a presentation to the legislature and explain what they did over the last biennium for the forest health treatments to meet that goal, and then also over the next 2 years, you know, what they could accomplish. And along with that would come a funding request to the legislature. So there's some shared accountability and understanding that this is going to be a costly endeavor. But if we want to really reduce our risk of catastrophic wildfire in our state, we have to address the forest health needs in our state and thin our forests. And I'm really excited of all the people who jumped on it and really supported me in the effort. I couldn't have done it alone, but the Department of Natural Resources, our Commissioner of Public Lands, Hillary France, was really actively involved as a supporter in this, her staff, the Nature Conservancy, the Wildfire Project folks from Wenatchee, our North Central Washington Forest Health Collaborative, and a whole diverse group of stakeholders came together to support this legislation.
Senator Hawkins says the legislation was drafted through a collaborative process involving a variety of forest stakeholder groups working toward a common goal of maintaining healthy forests. Coming up, July jobless numbers are out, and extra law enforcement will also be out patrolling our roadways this holiday weekend. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching NCW Life News.
No matter what your age or ailment, when you wake up each day with a sense of purpose, life has meaning and joy.
Just wait a while, it'll get in the hole somewhere.
Helping you do this is our purpose. Highgate Senior Living, each day to the fullest.
The best thing about my life right now is
me.
I gotta tell you, I'm nervous.
Selling your home, it's a big step.
Can we find the right buyer in this market?
Look at our website. When someone looks at your home, I can tell how ready they are to buy. See that number? The closer it is to 100, the closer they are to buying. So, I know who to zero in on.
So you have a secret weapon.
You mean, we have a secret weapon.
I like that. Oh, what do you think of the wallpaper?
I love that touch.
A judge has ordered the trial for accused murderer Bernard Swaim to go forward after ruling against a defense request for a mistrial. Steve Hare reports.
The trial began Monday for the 61-year-old Sultan man who's charged with first-degree murder in the 1982 death of Stephen Smith of Kashmir. Court proceedings were canceled Thursday due to a legal issue involving a Do Not Disturb sign that had been posted by an employee of the prosecutor's office to the courtroom door. Now, the sign was intended to reduce noise from filtering into the courtroom from the outside waiting area. Judge Leslie Allen ordered the sign removed because of concerns that trial spectators may have seen the sign and thought that they were being barred entry into the courtroom. Judge Allen ruled this morning that the sign did not violate Swaim's constitutional right to a public trial.
The court can't find, based on what's been presented to the court, that Mr. Swaim's right to a fair trial has been materially affected by what occurred in this case. What we do know is that there were signs on the door that should not have been there, but we also know that there were 12 people in the courtroom who came past those signs and were here to watch the proceedings, including a couple of members of the media. And we don't, certainly the doors to the courtroom were not locked. There were no physical barriers placed in people's way. There was no person present turning them away. So under all of those circumstances, the court, again, can't find that Mr. Swaim's ability or his right to a fair trial has been materially affected by the placing of the signs.
The trial continued this afternoon with testimony from witnesses for the prosecution. Swaim's ex-wife and co-defendant Dawn Souls was scheduled to testify today. She was also previously married to Smith and is accused of conspiring with Swaim to kill Smith over a child custody dispute. Smith's body was never found. The case was reopened 35 years later. Steve Hare, NCW Life News.
Good news on the labor front in north central Washington. The month of July saw a significant drop in the jobless rate in Chelan and Douglas counties. The State Employment Security Department reports the two-county area had a 3.5% jobless rate, which was the lowest recorded in 27 years. State Regional Economist Don Messick says the labor market grew by 1,900 jobs since July of 2016. The sectors that saw the greatest increase were construction, healthcare, and fruit warehousing. Well, as always, the Labor Day weekend means high traffic volumes and longer than average travel times to your destination. Washington State Patrol Trooper Brian Moore says by preparing now, drivers can arrive safely to their destination and minimize delays.
We're expecting delays of up to a couple hours Monday between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. heading westbound back towards Seattle from eastern Washington. We're asking drivers to potentially delay their trip until Tuesday morning. There are a couple things that drivers can do to make their trip a little bit smoother. Washington State Patrol is recommending that drivers carry a sufficient amount of water, some food, some snacks, and just be generally prepared for those delays. We're also asking motorists to make sure their tires are in good condition, they're properly inflated, and then we have proper coolant levels so that during these delays, our vehicles don't overheat. Eastern Washington is expecting temperatures near 100 degrees for most of the weekend. We have extremely dry conditions in Eastern Washington right now. If you do become disabled, we're asking that you stay on a paved portion of the roadway and not pull into the high grasses.
Trooper Moore says that the State Patrol will be out in full force, focusing on distracted drivers and enforcing the new distracted driver law.
Washington State Patrol is going to be allocating additional resources onto the I-90 corridor. We're going to be focusing on distracted drivers. The new distracted driving law is now in effect. It is illegal to use a hands-held device. Drivers are urged to make sure that they have a proper working Bluetooth or speakerphone prior to utilizing a handheld device. First ticket for the offense will be $136. A second ticket within 5 years will be $234. Washington State Patrol makes the recommendation to put those phones away. Distracted driving is the leading cause of collisions right now in Washington.
Moore also adds that if your vehicle becomes disabled, pull safely to the shoulder of the road and remain in the vehicle. Turn on the hazard lights and call for assistance. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, your sports update followed by today's feature story. That and much more still to come on NCW Life News. Stay with us.
Every golfer aims to play their best, and smart golfers turn to the Golfer's Edge to get the Golfer's Edge. PGA professional Ed Payne has you covered from tee to green. You can work on your swing or play 18 in air-conditioned comfort on the golf simulator. Tanya's Corner has all the apparel the golfer needs at sale prices. And Ed can even rebuild your favorite set of clubs or custom make you a brand new set. Ask how you can qualify for a free 30-minute lesson at the Golfer's Edge on Mission between Kittitas and Yakima.
At Doghouse Motorsports, we ride what we sell. There's a lot we could say about the CD Spark and the CD GTI, but ultimately, the ride says it all.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
I'm Jay Seebeck filling in for Eric Granstrom on your NCW Life sports update tonight. Tonight we're back with the start of another season of high school football. Coming up on the NCW Life channel tonight live, it's the Wenatchee Panthers versus the Southridge Suns from Lee Bofto Field at the Apple Bowl. Our pregame begins at 6:50 with Ian Dunn and Mark Miller with your play-by-play. Also tonight, Kamiakin comes to Eastmont at 7 p.m. That game is taped for next Saturday. Grant Olson and I will be doing the broadcast of that game. Ephrata is going to be at Kashmir at 7 p.m. and then Cascade is heading over to East Valley Yakima tonight, and then you have Chelan going to Quincy at 7 p.m. as well. On to the prep calendar for Saturday. You have Northport at Iniat at 6 p.m. and then moving to girls soccer, you have the Kings at Cascade at 1 p.m. and then Central Valley comes and visits Wenatchee again at the Apple Bowl at 3 p.m. We'll have that game live on the NCW Live channel with Sebastian Moraga doing the broadcast. Then we have Pasco at Eastmont and at 3 p.m. Moving into volleyball, you got Chelan, Eastmont, Moses Lake, all at Wenatchee for a jamboree starting at 9 a.m. Cross country, we have the 2-mile time trial at Walla Walla Point Park at 10 a.m. The Wenatchee Wild finish up the preseason this weekend at the rink. Wenatchee hosts Langley Rivermen in the final 2 games of the preseason. Both games tonight and tomorrow night start at 7 p.m. Cost is $10 per person. The Seattle Seahawks wrapped up the preseason at Oakland last night against the Raiders. Eric Granstrom was there and files this report.
Well, the Seattle Seahawks finished the preseason undefeated for only the 4th time in franchise history after a 17-13 win over the Oakland Raiders here on the road in Oakland Alameda County Stadium here tonight as they quickly get things ready for baseball now as the A's will take on the rest of the American League coming up soon. But the Seahawks get off to an early lead on Thursday night on a 21-yard field goal by Blair Walsh. They would add to their lead in the second quarter on a 34-yard touchdown pass from Trevon Boykin to Rodney Smith. That gave the Hawks a 10-0 lead. Raiders would cut it to 10-7. Then it would be tied in the third quarter. Raiders actually took the lead on a field goal late in the fourth, but a pretty drive engineered by Austin Davis down the stretch with just over a minute to go. He would connect on a touchdown pass of 16 yards to Kenny Lawler, and that proved to be the game winner for the Seahawks. The last time, by the way, the Seahawks went undefeated in the preseason is when they won the Super Bowl back in 2013. So the Seahawks get the victory, and now the big question for the coaching staff and for the management is how many of these guys they need to cut, 37 of which will no longer be Seahawks after this weekend. Again, the Seahawks improved to 4-0. The Raiders fall to 0-4 as the Hawks win it by a score of 17-13 here on the road in Oakland. Next up, it's the regular season. They all count from here on out as they'll be in Green Bay to take on the Packers in the season opener just over a week from now. Here in Oakland at the Alameda County Stadium, I'm Eric Granstrom for the NCW Life Channel.
The Legion of Boom suffered a big blow in last night's win as backup DeAndre Elliott suffered a dislocated and broken ankle during scrimmage. He was carted off the field in an air cast, and all of the Seahawks sideline was clearly devastated by the loss of Elliott. Saturday morning will be the day that finalizes the Seahawks roster as the team will make the cuts from the 90-man roster to the 53-man roster. And one thing I know that will be difficult when it comes to making these roster cuts is that when a team goes 4-0 like that, it's really hard to cut players, but it's highly likely that we'll see some of those guys around the league as the season progresses. Moving on to the Mariners. The Mariners are back home tonight, and they take on the baseball version of Oakland, the Oakland A's. They're in town, and the Mariners are going to be licking their wounds after finishing a 12-game road trip and ending it with a 5-game losing streak. The M's will send newly acquired Mike Leake to the mound after getting him from the Cardinals in a trade on Thursday. Leake comes to the Mariners this year with an ERA of 4.21 with 7 wins and 12 losses. Oakland will counter with Sean Manaea, who has an ERA of 4.55 with 9 wins on the season. Chicago Cubs manager Joe Maddon commented on the Leake trade to the Mariners, saying that Leake has always been tough on the Cubs and that selfishly he likes him not being in St. Louis. First pitch tonight at Safeco Field is at 7:10 p.m. Now, while the Mariners had a travel day Thursday, here's a look at our wild card race. Yankees and Twins hold the first 2 spots to kick off September. The Angels are close behind in 3rd, Baltimore in 4th, Tampa Bay in 5th, and then the Rangers and Seattle are in 6th. Tonight, Texas will take on the Angels in Anaheim, and Oakland comes to Seattle. So this could be a big weekend for the Mariners to get hot and make up some ground if the Rangers and Anaheim split their series. I'm Jay Seebeck with your sports update. Back to you, Grant.
Thank you, Jay. Wenatchee Mayor Frank Kuntz and East Wenatchee Mayor Steve Lacey recently returned from a trip to our sister city, Misawa, Japan. They joined Dan Kuntz on this morning's Wake Up Wenatchee Valley to talk about their journey.
It's a combination of obviously us being mayors and making sure that the Misawa Sister City delegation and all of those things are going well, but it's also a chance for the other 18 delegates to experience culture. That culture is different than ours, and Mayor Lacey is wonderful to make sure that we see all those cultures and really understand the Japanese people, and they're just incredible hosts and make sure everything that we do is wonderful. So makes us, as Mayor Lacey has told me, we need to step up our game in Wenatchee when we host them because they're really remarkable.
Steve, what are we looking at there?
That's at the junior high school, and they asked us to write something that we thought was important. So my little 3 digits says golf in one of the Japanese languages. Mayor, what does yours say?
I think it says Frank likes golf.
Yeah.
So that is that's a beautiful picture.
I think maybe it was ocean, something like that.
So that's the welcoming ceremony. So that's all of our delegation, all of the host families, Mayor Tanaichi and their group.
And they have correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't Misawa have a larger city council than either Wenatchee or East Wenatchee? Isn't there like a lot of people on their councils?
They call it a city assembly. Yeah, and they have like
18 or 20?
22,
Wow.
I think, if you include the vice mayor and the speaker. Yeah.
So that's obviously arriving there?
Yep, that's arriving there. So Mayor Lacey and I got to wear our suits on the bullet train and buses all the way from Tokyo to Misawa for about 4 hours to get there, yeah.
You were talking about rolling out the red carpet. You can see right there, they really go all out when we come over, don't they? Yeah.
These are some preschool, little preschool youngsters that come out. I think it's the last 4 or 5 visits I've been, they're there to sing, and they're just cute as a button. And it's kind of a highlight of the trip right off the bat. You get off the bat and get an opportunity to watch these little kids, and they really know how to put on a show, and they know they're putting on a show. It's a fun thing.
Or photos of it looks like a banquet of some kind?
Yeah. And one of the things that's interesting for me, Dan, in the Misawa, the way the government works is the mayor and the city government not only run what you and I would think would be normal city government, but they run the hospital and they run the school system. So it's a way bigger, more formal event, more things that operate under the city government than in the United States.
This is something they do every time we go. They're good to dress us up, the whole delegation in traditional Japanese garb, and the men get a jinbei, which is a summer home kind of outfit for men, a comfortable outfit. The women get a kimono, and they get to keep it.
We'll be back in just a moment with a recap of some of today's stories and your complete local weather forecast right after this.
Lake Chelan mailboxes find solutions and the best price for all your shipping needs, including UPS, FedEx, and the U.S. Postal Service. We offer a variety of services including quality copies of all sizes, faxing, scanning, sending and receiving email, laminating, and notarizing. Enjoy browsing through our large selection of greeting cards. Lake Chelan mailboxes supports our military, fire victims, and our community. Come see us at the Plaza in Lake Chelan.
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills in Manson. It's blueberry picking season and King 5 named us the second best destination restaurant in Washington State. So toss the family in the cruiser and get on out to Blueberry Hills for the best down-home scratch country cooking you've had in years. And don't forget our award-winning pies. We're fun, family-friendly, and a delicious destination year-round. We're open every day from 8 to 3, serving breakfast and lunch all day. So come on out to Blueberry Hills.
If you are looking for dependable car service and repair, visit the good guys at Quick Lube and Tune. They've been keeping cars and trucks in the Wenatchee Valley running smooth for 35 years. Quick Lube and Tune is your hometown shop for a 10-minute oil change, complete tune-ups, alignments, brakes, mufflers, air conditioning service, and more. Get more life out of your vehicle by bringing it to the local guys you can trust at Quick Lube and Tune on South Wenatchee Avenue.
Welcome back, and now a recap of our top story today. A judge has ordered the trial for accused murderer Bernard Swaim to go forward after ruling against a defense request for a mistrial. Steve Hare reports.
The trial began Monday for the 61-year-old Sultan man who's charged with first-degree murder in the 1982 death of Stephen Smith of Kashmir. Court proceedings were canceled Thursday due to a legal issue involving a Do Not Disturb sign that had been posted by an employee of the prosecutor's office to the courtroom door. Now, the sign was intended to reduce noise from filtering into the courtroom from the outside waiting area. Judge Leslie Allen ordered the sign removed because of concerns that trial spectators may have seen the sign and thought that they were being barred entry into the courtroom. Judge Allen ruled this morning that the sign did not violate Swaim's constitutional right to a public trial.
The court can't find, based on what's been presented to the court, that Mr. Swaim's right to a fair trial has been materially affected by what occurred in this case. What we do know is that there were signs on the door that should not have been there. But we also know that there were 12 people in the courtroom who came past those signs and were here to watch the proceedings, including a couple of members of the media. And we don't, certainly the doors to the courtroom were not locked. There were no physical barriers placed in people's way. There was no person present turning them away. So under all of those circumstances, the court, again, can't find that Mr. Swaim's ability or his right to a fair trial has been materially affected by the placing of the signs.
The trial continued this afternoon with testimony from witnesses for the prosecution. Swaim's ex-wife and co-defendant Dawn Souls was scheduled to testify today. She was also previously married to Smith and is accused of conspiring with Swaim to kill Smith over a child custody dispute. Smith's body was never found. The case was reopened 35 years later. Steve Hare, NCW Life News.
And now your weather forecast for north central Washington. First, let's take a look outside our weather window. Yeah, the haze and smoke returned to north central Washington this morning, and we will see some smoke and haze right into next week sometime. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, as we take a look at our satellite loop, you can notice the huge area of high pressure deflecting all the clouds and moisture up and over us into Canada. Basically, the entire western United States right now is experiencing clear skies and above normal temperatures. That high pressure area will build over north central Washington just in time for the Labor Day holiday weekend with hot, possibly record-setting temperatures and dry weather expected right into the middle part of next week. An air quality alert has been issued for all of central and eastern Washington. The alert began at 3 o'clock this afternoon and get this, runs all the way through noon of next Wednesday, as increased fire activity is expected to bring increasing smoke and haze into the region for the Labor Day weekend, and likely through at least the middle of next week as well. The reason? Regional fires will be active at times the next few days with plumes of mid and high level smoke possibly affecting our area. Periods of greater fire activity are expected, especially during the afternoon over the holiday weekend. Let's take a look at that forecast now. Tonight, mild at 65 degrees. And you see all the clouds in our forecast? Those clouds represent haze and widespread smoke that will be throughout our 7-day forecast. 98 tomorrow, possibly record-setting for us. 97 Sunday, and we'll stay in the mid-90s all the way in to the middle of next week. And as we leave you tonight, there's nothing like watching a video of a cute baby. Well, we've got you covered. Enjoy this video of the first 2 days of life for a baby alpaca. And that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around north central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us and have a great weekend.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com, like us on Facebook, and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.
Reed's Marine in Manson has your boating needs covered, offering the superior Regal lineup with options from 19 to 53 feet. With the Regal Express line, you have the freedom to explore with an innovative interior and the largest headroom in its class. Don't forget the roomy cockpit with seating to fit the whole family. From 26 to 32 feet, Reed's Marine has the Regal Express to fit your needs. View our current inventory at chelanboat.com or stop by our Manson showroom on beautiful Lake Chelan and see the entire Regal line.
I'm Dan Longauger with Coho 101, and you're watching the NCW Life Channel.